Today we're going to look at the letter S, and it's one of those that with non-native speakers, it gets dropped. In Hong Kong, the local language typically you can drop off at the end. With English, we cannot. It plays an important role in five different ways. So let's take a closer look at the letter S, and we're going to start off with wrong way. Go back. Yes, in a lot of cases. It's just why are we making this mistake? And it takes a long time to really pick up that it's not the odd person, it's many people. So it's a phonic but not phonic language. This is the challenge with English. Is it phonic? Is it not phonic? It's a language of rules, but many exceptions. And some might say too many exceptions. A language of borrowed words. We'll see more about that in a few moments. Parts of language are not in the native tongue. So, for instance, there are sounds that just aren't made, as I said, with Cantonese, where they drop sounds at the end. So, there's variance in what our native tongue does. And with my method of teaching, there is no paper. It is not a worksheet based. This is going to be all audio and video to help you move forward on this growth. Yes, it can be frustrating. In a lot of cases, we can do it on paper. There's a lot of text, but when it comes to oral and speaking, it's a challenge. And that's really what we're working with here is getting your oral because it's the future. It's not your fault. The system really works on paper. We need to throw the paper out. We need to understand that the days of paper are coming to the end with AI. We don't need to do as much preparation. We don't need to be as grammatically correct. All these can be cleaned up and look perfect when it goes through the AI blender, right? But when we come to speaking, that we can't put in a blender. That's our words from our mouth that matter more than ever because we're going to be selling the concepts that AI comes up with. Now, let's look at borrowed words because we do have quite a few borrowed words. Start right here in China. Tea. Yes, tea is definitely one of those words that comes from China. The next one we have pajamas are an Indian word as well as bungalow. We have coffee from Egypt. We have emoji. The fun emojis are from Japan. We have hamburgers, not from America, but actually Germany. We have croissant from France. We have umbrellas from Italy. We have blankets from Spain. And we have canoes from Canada. And one of the oldest places, and we still take parts from our language, is Greece. We get the alphabet. I always say, if you see a letter S in a word, pronounce it. There are only three words we use in English language that are English based that don't pronounce letter S. There are a few French words, and we'll go over all these words. Let's look at the three words now. So we have island, yes, as in Hong Kong Island. It's not Island, it's island. So we rub out the S. This one's very, very common one. We go shopping, and in there, what is this word? It's not ASL, it's, scratch out three word letters. It's aisle. Now, this does come from a French word, but many, many moons ago, and is classified as an English word. But the probably least common of the three, but used still in British a lot, would be this word. And we're just going to scratch out the last S. But the letters are not going to make the sounds that they phonetically should. And we come up with dippery, dippery. Now, the next set of words are all coming from French, and they're directly French, and there's hasn't been any changes to it. So the first one a pretty big word here. It relates to middle class, and many people classify it as an insult. Can you pronounce it? Any idea? Now, we're going to get rid of 5 letters at the end of the word, but it still makes it pretty hard to pronounce. So the word would be bourgeois. The next one. So we actually have an animal, and we actually have a rag that made out of sheepskin or lambskin we would wash our car with or dry our car with. Any idea what this one is? You would tend to think chamois if you were going to convert it right to English. So here we go. We got the S is gone, but the correct word is chamois, a chamois. All right, next one is what your car rides on. We must all know this. It's a chassis, right? Let's take a look here. Is it a chassis? Well, that's the base of your car. Well, we got rid of the S at the end, and we call it a chassis. This one has to do with a body of people, usually military-like, and we would think corpse, right? But we're going to drop the P and the S, and the word would be or. We've all done it. We've done that thing that where we embarrassed ourselves. Yes. And obviously, trying to pronounce this word, we would embarrass ourselves. And when we look at the words and we give it to the English way, it would be faux pas. Faux pas. And this is probably the most common one. We kind of sit on the fence and say, is it French or English? English, because we do use it a fair amount. And this word is when two people get together, often secretly. So we're going to drop the Z and the S, and the word would be rendezvous. Rendezvous. Why the S matters. Number one, plural. So on the top we have a dog, and then at the bottom we have dogs. So it's pretty obvious. The plurals, it's not really an area we need to focus a lot on. So it's one versus many. Third person singular, second reason. This one's a little bit more complex. I smile, she smiles. He smiles, it smiles. So we only use it in that context of he, she, it. Number three, possessive. Yes, Dave, and there's a car, but Dave owns the car. So in this case, it's Dave's car. All right, so you don't have to go around going, Dave and his car. It's Dave's car. Number four, contractions. This is where we make two words smaller. We used them for a long time. In the beginning, we always want to keep them separate. But we need to make it more compact. It makes it a little bit easier for pronunciation. So all we're doing is kind of like an advice. We're just pushing them together and then putting an apostrophe in there. Here's a list of all the different cases of the ones we use. I think the most unique one is let us. It's not a his or a has or a does. So some of them can be is and has, and some are it has and does. The list goes over full details. Now there's the one that it changes the actual meaning, and this can cause a lot of problems. So, for instance, in the first one, we have a good, it's a good thumb, good job. And the other one, he's got something in his dolly, his cart. And so it makes it not good, but goods. So the S is kind of important to put in the right context. The next one would be both glass, but we know the top one is being glasses. All right. And the bottom one, we don't pluralize, even though there is more than one piece of glass. There's pieces of glass. The next one would be arm. Yes, we all have an arm, but do we bear arms as in machine guns? Yes, in some states in America, that's very, very common thing to do. But we don't do that in many places of the world. And that's a very good thing. This one we see quite a popular work and works. So we all do work, but works is a major project or a piece of art. Now we're going to look into some errors. And so this is a great example where they've changed the meaning based on the fact that they didn't put an S on. So they implied they want an old form, but we don't use an old form for ID. We use forms of ID. All right. So you can have a form of ID, but it's a form of ID, not just an old form. Old form changes the context because that is also an adjective. So it's really something so small, but it changes the meaning. And this is a government department. And all these three examples I have today are all recent things I've seen posted. Now, this is probably the worst of them all because the headline itself only has, less than 10 words, but there's four errors. And two of them are, you know, to do with the S in itself. So dog control, not dogs control. It's you might as well have the apostrophe in there, make it even worse because it's kind of implying it should be there. Uh, and it's also missing the possessive, the buildings common area. Whose common area? The buildings, right? So this one is a great example of it's obvious that it's a second language learner, but AI came back and said there's other issues there and didn't have good things to say. And the last one's more of a plural issue uh, than meaning. Could be meaning, it's also plural. Please wash your hand after use. So, right or left? Which one do I have to use? Right? It's very confusing. And, the picture shows the right, but maybe I use the left. But I can wash my hands better when I use both. So, silly signs like this really go a long way to showing we have to focus on the little details. So don't drop the S. Okay? It's critical we use it in the right way. Again, thank you for this video. I know this one's a bit on the long side, but there's a lot to cover with the letter S, and it is an important one. This is a unique page. There is no templates or worksheets. It's all to help you master English. And please help support this channel. A lot of work goes into it.